I counted backwards from December 31st and I found the last day that you can list your house and sell it in 2026. And you tell you what, it's sooner than you'd guess. Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's Rob Folia, your real estate broker, real estate educator with Keller Williams Realty. And yes, I have been thinking about people who are trying to arrange their move by the end of this year. I've talked to quite a few people recently who want to get a move done before the end of 2026. And, honestly, when you start arranging logistics, the answer is probably going to surprise you in terms of when you need to get your house on the market. So let's look at the data and let's figure out when you need to list your home so that you sell and close before the end of 2026. Now, before we get into the data, if you could do me a favor, I know a lot of people who end up seeing these videos, they're just not subscribed to this channel. And so if you would, do me a favor, make sure you're subscribed. If you're not, hit that subscribe button so that way you can see more real estate data in your feed, not just opinions, not just talking heads, but real facts that can help you make your decisions around when you make a move. All right, so back to the data. I know that there's going to be some variables that come into play here. So depending on your neighborhood and how fast, your specific price point is moving, this might flex a little bit. But what I want to do is I want to look at what the average home in Middle Tennessee might be looking at in terms of if you want to sell and actually close by the end of the year, well, what's it going to take? Now, as you can see here, we're looking at Davidson County, and we are looking at the last 30 days for Davidson County. Why 30 days instead of, say, last month? Well, it's close to the end of August right now. And, the last month's data is kind of dated. And, the more that we get toward the end of the year, the more the market is likely to shift toward what we tend to see in Q3 and Q4. And that is a little bit longer time on market. In fact, there's a couple of stats that really jump out to me that I'm seeing right away. The big one right here, months of supply. Gosh, I mean, months of supply, we've talked about before and how months of supply has been teetering it and close to a balanced market. And right here, you're at 6 months of supply. That is square in the middle of balanced market territory. And if it continues to trend that way, well, you're going to be in a buyer's market territory, which is going to impact the next number. That next number being list to contract. Now you can see that in July, or the 30 days from the end of June into the end of July, we are at 58 days. It's only 62 days for the end of July toward the end of August here. Not a huge gap right there, but if it is still 4 days, 4 days difference, a 6% change over a 30-day period. If that continues to happen over the next couple of months, it's going to keep taking longer. But that tells me that it's typically taking 2 months to go under contract. Now, the average home closes in about 30 days. That's a norm. It can take longer if everybody wants it to take longer, but lenders can close it in 30 days. And so if we were aiming backward from, say, a December 31st close, right? And you said, hey, I need to close by the end of the year. It's December 31st. Well, we need to have your home under contract by December 1st. You need to have your home under contract by December 1st, and it's taking roughly 2 months to go under contract right now. Well, work backward. That means October 1st is when we have to be active and showing we got to be on the market and ready to go at that point. That also means that prep work has to be done before October 1st, right? I'm not one of those agents that just walks around with their cell phone taking photos of your home. No, I've got to get my professional photographer out there. You might have to get the home ready. We're going to have to talk about those things. And so, long story short, what I'm getting at is that we are dangerously close to that timeline if you want to make a move this year. Now, I do want to preface that I'm looking at average data for the market. 2 months is a long time to be on the market before you get an offer and go under contract. At least it's been the case for my listings here this year. Most of my listings have gone under contract within those first few days on the market. A couple have taken maybe 2 weeks, but it's been quicker than that. And honestly, if I were y'all, I would be aiming for quicker than that. And here's why I say that. Because typically, our real estate market here in Middle Tennessee slows down for about an 8-week period. I'd say from about Thanksgiving, maybe even a week before Thanksgiving, through about mid-January, somewhere right in there, it ends up slowing down. It just does. Activity slows. It's not just, it's not just agents who are on vacation, but people don't want to move during that time. People are planning a Thanksgiving dinner. They don't want to say, all right, well, let's uproot the family because we've got to go show up, we got to show our home. They don't want to do that. They don't want to show their home with Christmas presents under the tree or their Christmas tree up. And so what ends up happening is there ends up being just naturally a lot less activity for about that 60-day span. So in reality, you really want to get your home under contract by about that first week in November, which means, again, if it's only taking, say, 2 to 3 weeks to go under contract, which that's about what I would expect for at least for my listings that are priced correctly in this market, say 2 to 3 weeks to go under contract right now. Well, if that's the case and we need to be under contract by that first week in November, we've got to be on the market showing by mid-October. Mid-October is going to be here before we know it. That's about 6 weeks from now, which means if you've got to move on your agenda for 2026, pick up the phone and call me today. That way we can get this started. We can make this happen in 2026 before the timer runs out. As you see, I've only run the data for Davidson County here for this video. If you want me to run it for your county, your zip code, your neighborhood, your home, well, reach out to me. I'm happy to do so for you. Thank y'all so much, and we'll talk soon.